Good evening. Happy Thursday, Jake Baba. Happy Amartithi week. Welcome to the late night chat. We have a little bit of a different plan. Alisa and Pamela were going to be our special guests tonight. They didn't forget about us. They've been busy. Life got in the way. They will be here next week. Same time.
No. They'll be here in March.
Yeah. March. I'm sorry. I was thinking next week.
Yeah.
They will be here in March. I'm sorry. Thank you, Margi. However, tonight we have good news. We increased our budget by like 3 times. We actually have a special correspondent from India, all the way from India, Margi Connor. We are going to be talking about Amartithi, experiences in Amartithi, anything we'd like to share about this past week, what Amartithi means to us. And let's turn over to Margi. Margi, how was Amartithi in India?
Can I just say before she starts, what a great pivot, just perfect, because I've been trying to talk to her all week. So,
Peter, thank you for the introduction, and thank you, Diane. I appreciate you. So post Amartithi, I am extremely sick, but I think that's usually pretty typical of Amartithi and Meherabad. But Amartithi was pretty small this year. There were only about 15,000 people, and they were expecting like 35,000. So the dust was there. Baba was there. It was craziness. It was a really beautiful Amartithi, but definitely more quiet than previous years. If anybody has been in India for Amartithi, there were a good amount of Westerners. But yeah, all of us are sick now, which always is what happens after Amartithi. So I apologize if I'm not my highest energy today. But so yeah, like Peter said, we were going to have Alisa and Pamela on, but they had something come up. So this was actually Peter's idea to just talk about Amartithi experiences. It can be, in India, in Myrtle Beach, inward experiences. And so I kind of want to turn it over to you guys, because I feel like I talk a lot anyway. So Peter and I can share ours later on. Does anybody feel like venturing forward with either what this Amartithi was like for them, or past years, or even just like a take on Amartithi? Not quite.
All right, I'll start.
All right, Peter.
Why not?
What did you say, Margie?
So Amartithi was awesome in Myrtle Beach. It was really powerful. This was, of course, the first year in 3 years since 2020 that we gathered in the barn. But it's been tradition from when I can remember it all. We gather in the barn. The program starts at 11:30 a.m. It's also a special day because there is a fireplace in the barn, and that's the only program, the only celebration where they actually light the fire in the barn. And they do that early in the morning. Jeff and his friend Denny Moore did that this past year, and I think it's been a tradition that they usually light the fire, from what I know. And just the fire was really powerful, even though the weather was warm for Myrtle Beach. It was in the 60s, so it was like almost like spring light, but it was still really beautiful with the fire going. And it was really nice. Wendy shared a story or whatnot at the barn in the program. Gary Edelman sang 2 songs, and his music's so awesome. He sings with so much passion. And then there was Begin the Begin, which Buzz led, and it was just really sweet. We all said the prayers, and it was very powerful to me. It was also, there were some laughs as well. And even during the 15 minutes of silence, we had, right when the silence started, someone's phone went off, and the phones just sounded like very melodic. It sounded like bells, but I guess, and like it was an announcement. There was an announcement earlier when the program started, silence or put cell phones in silent or vibrate. And I guess the person just didn't realize their phone was on. People were laughing a couple times throughout the program. So, but laughter's good. And Bob loved laughter. So it was fun. And then after the barn program, we had a chai, and the center got like bread, which was nice. But then there was this really big sweet Indian family that was staying on center, and they made a pretty big meal for us. Like they made rice and dal and rada and rice pudding, and we all had it like outside the refectory, or outside the original kitchen. And it was just a beautiful day, a beautiful celebration. And then later that night, in Amartithi night, Erwin Luck spoke, and his speech was awesome. It was recorded, so I'm pretty sure we're gonna put it on YouTube. It's just hard to say when, but Erwin Luck did a great job speaking. He was there when Baba, after Baba had passed away, dropped his body. He was there, so that was cool. He said about that experience, and he shared other stories about what it was like to meet Baba in the body. And the next day, which was last night, our time, or our time in America, February the 1st, we had a celebration variety show in the meeting place, different songs. We had a couple of poems. So it was almost like a really, really, really small scale compared to only about like 20 some performers. But it was really sweet. I played a couple songs, and that was an honor. I've led off the program with my band, and we started out with Sing a Song of Mayor Baba, and it's one of my favorite songs to sing. And then I also played a guitar improv song just from the heart, and just improv guitar. And then I also played a song with a beautiful soul who's sort of new to Baba. Her name is Grace, and Margi, she will be there next week. Be on the lookout for her. She's coming with Regina and Jonah and Ivy and Brian Marks. So all 5 of them will be traveling together from Mumbai. So, but we did a kirtan song, and that was just so beautiful. It was very powerful. But that was a really nice program last night. There was just so much energy. And then like, after the program, a couple of us stuck around, and we just did an impromptu music jam, just different kirtan songs, and just sharing different songs. And tonight, I just got back from the center. Jeff and Nan played a beautiful, beautiful concert tonight, and it was like a continuation of Amartithi. So my heart is full, and it's been a great week. And now I'm gonna be in. We're doing 3 short birthday plays for Baba's birthday. So I'm in one of them. I'm a balloon in one of them. So and all the plays are 2-person plays. So I've been transitioning and trying to study and memorize my lines, and trying to get my lines down as good as possible before my next play practice. We actually have to be off book by next week. So I'm off the next 2 days. So I'm gonna be studying a lot. But that's those are my memories from the past couple of days. Would anyone else like to share?
If no one has anything else, I can kind of give an update from India, what India Amartithi was like, if you guys would be interested.
Yes, please do.
So like I said, they were expecting more people than ever before, because it was the first one post-COVID. But like I said, it was a small year. And I'm trying to think about some highlights. All of the Westerners kind of slept out on the hill on Amartithi night. Not the whole night, but we were probably out until, I don't know, 3 in the morning, sleeping on the hill. I got barfed on by a baby, so that was a highlight of my Amartithi. Yeah, so the first day was pretty quiet. I was actually extremely surprised. Normally, if you guys have been there for Amartithi, when you're on the hill and there's, the programs going on, you're like body to body with people, but it was totally open. And they have made some changes. So they used to have all the food, this is sort of irrelevant, but just so you have an idea of what's going on here. They used to have the food tents up on the other side of the archive building. And then they said they now move them down to Giles Road, just to leave that open. Then there's like a medical tent up on the other side of the archive building. And trying to think of some, I had a really sweet moment. I was sitting with somebody and just sitting in the Samadhi the day before Amartithi, and we got called over and we got to move Baba's Gadi. So that's the one that sits in the tin shed. And so that was Mara and Mani's job, to bring Baba's Gadi from the tin shed over onto the mandap, like the little stage by the Samadhi. Yep, I see a hand.
What's a Gadi?
So it's like Baba's bed. It's kind of like his day bed. It's like this, and then it's got the the back that sort of comes up like this. And I don't know if they carried him on it, but I know that he would sit. It was like during the Prem Ashram, he would sit on that. That and to move the Gadi, and I was lucky enough to get to move Baba's Gadi with an Iranian woman over to the stage, which was really, really special. It's amazing too, because India, it's so chaotic and it's so funny. And as we were carrying the Gadi over, you've got hordes of people rushing over and taking darshan from the Gadi before we even put it down. They're like putting their hands on the Gadi. So that was really sweet. There were some amazing like Kiwali performers and whatnot, but it was super nice actually on the last day. So on the first in the morning, because there were so few people, there were actually some open spots. So there were a bunch of Westerners that got to come on and sing that they weren't expecting to. I was one of them, which was really great. And then we closed the program out with Baba Hu, and there was this incredible Kiwali singer, which was, oh my God. So I was standing behind the stage during it because I was going to go on for Baba Hu with everybody. And the energy, you just look out into the crowd and everyone was dancing. That's not usually the case. People are kind of bouncing around a little bit. Everyone was dancing, like jumping up and down. And there was so much love pouring out of the Samadhi. I had this feeling of like Baba was overjoyed with the efforts that everybody made to come for Amartithi this year. Oh, I see another hand.
I think that's why Baba made it so there wasn't that many people, so there would be room for everyone to jump around and have that kind of energy together. It's really uplifting in a lot of ways.
Yeah, no, it was really special, because I don't know if you guys have been in India for Amartithi, but by the end you're ready to kill everyone who's like around you, because you're so tired. You like have been eating nothing. It's been coming out both ends, and you're like exhausted. It's so dusty. It's quite an ego grinding to go through. And I remember the last day there's a bunch of Australians here right now. We were all hanging out. We were all ready to kill each other. And then all of a sudden there was like this kind of big fight, and it wasn't bad. It was just like, we're all annoyed. We want to get food, whatever. And then Baba Hu comes on and it just cleared that energy entirely. It's taxing. Being in India in general, it's kind of taxing. But yeah, it was.
What do you do all day? Do you watch the performances?
Yeah, and you walk up and down the hill. You like spend a half hour watching the performances, which are mostly like Indian ghazals and bhajans and things like that. And then you hang out at Baba's cabin, or go to the Samadhi or whatever, and then you go up to the NPR, go back down the hill to the MPC, you go to the bazaar. So there's a big bazaar tent, and you walk around and you buy little Baba trinkets and stuff like that. And then there's also food stalls. So you're going back and forth to the food stalls all day, and you're walking, and it's all dusty, and it's quite a ride. But it was really, yeah. Oh, go ahead, Peter.
Okay. Two questions. I did hear they have I guess they've had for years. They have a ticket system. So people know when they get to go to the Samadhi.
Yeah, they have the tokens if you're saying. Oh, go ahead.
What time did you get to go to the Samadhi? What tickets did you go?
Because I'm here for so long, I didn't get a token. I just wanted people to be able to
go. But okay.
So because I slept on the hill that night, right at 12 o'clock, the darshan tokens stop, and then the Samadhi is pretty much empty. So I got to go into the Samadhi at in the middle of the night, and you just sit up there, and it's after there's the 12 o'clock silence on the hill. So it's like 15,000 people are silent for 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. And after the silence, a lot of people leave. So it's pretty cleared out after that. And the silence is always super powerful. I mean, it is India, so it's silent, but there's like phones going off, people are burping, farting, babies are crying. So, but yeah.
and then did you get any volunteer jobs this past week, for Amartithi?
No, I tried to help the tent set, but they prefer the men to help with the setup. So I was like, well, whatever, I don't want to help anyway.
Next life.
But yeah, no, I mean, definitely felt like Baba was like bringing a lot of anger in people. That was sort of like the theme, I think, for everybody over here. I don't know what everybody's experience was in general, but anger definitely was put up over here in Meherabad. Anger and irritation. But I'm talking a lot. I would love to hear stories of people's experiences from Amartithi's past. Okay, we got
Rainy Richmond. Good evening, Rainy.
Well, it wasn't the meeting I was expecting, but as it happened, we did the whole thing online, which was not dusty and not argumentative and no shitting and farting and no babies vomiting on us, which was really comfortable. But what happened was I decided to find some very old Amartithis. They've never been comfy, never been comfy. I mean, I'll keep talking so you can see. This is 1973 and it's packed. It's absolutely packed to the doors, just like it is these days. And this one is a lot of the Australians and some people from Japan, but mostly Westerners. Yeah, so here's the big difference. Mostly Westerners. Mostly Western music, except for a glass Ketal player that would come in the middle of the night. The women would get up to hear him, and another Kiwali guy as well, singing in Urdu. But you can see there's Francis Brabazon and Bill and me and Steve Hine behind them, Joel Queen and all these old Baba lovers there. Janet and Ted hadn't arrived by then. Janet was there, not Ted. And these were old times. And then there's this one where we're actually singing. And we got to sing for half an hour because they tallied up how many of us there were. And so everyone got their 5 minutes because the Mandali had asked for Francis as a singing to the Eternal Beloved. So we got to stand there and sing for half an hour. And I'm that little short one in the white Mexican dress there. Yes, I am only 5 foot. I think I'm 6 foot, but I'm actually only 5 foot. And my husband, Steve, and there's Sam on his guitar. He was there in 73. We actually came there with Francis. So it's always been crowded, but very different to what we see. Oh, there's one more. Oh my goodness, there's one more with a lot of the Americans. You might see yourself, I don't know. And it's when we first met the Americans. They met our music and we met their music, and we all adored each other, and we didn't fight. Although I noticed this, the Mandali would fight. Francis would get irritated with people. Bill would get irritated with people, but we were just like puppy dogs, just sitting there waiting for a pat from a Mandali or anybody important, because we were just kids. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Thank you, Rainy.
Thank you, Rainy.
All right. And Gail has her hand up. Gail, it's all yours.
Thanks, guys. I was at Amartithi January 2017. I came to India for 5 months starting in September of 2016. And it was my first Amartithi. And I'll give a plug to Tea with Mera. We talked about this this week. Every other Tuesday, women can join Tea with Mera, and it starts at 10:30. Is that right, Terry? 10:30 a.m. And Terry leads us. So
Diane. It's Diane, not Terry. That's Terry.
You can tell how tired I am.
It's okay.
I spent the whole day at the hospital in the emergency department with a dear friend. So I am that tired. I know you guys. So anyway, thank you. Thanks for your help. It was such a production before of getting it, but it was what I'd call an old-fashioned production, because things were, stakes were put in the ground by hand. I mean, everything was manual labor. So I had been watching it come to pass. And just before Amartithi, probably maybe 10, 15 plus days, maybe 2 weeks, I had been doing a shift or two a day with Dolly Dastur toward the end of her life. So I didn't get to see the final flourishes. So when I went on the morning of Amartithi, I got to see everything all put together, which was cool. I had for some reason, I had to take something to the Samadhi, and I got to see a little bit of it on an errand. But I was there early in the morning, and I got a really good seat, which was surprising. And I realized after I shared with Diane and the people from our Tea with Mira that Baba had given me so many different experiences. I didn't put it together, but I had been to the bazaar and seen what that was like. I tried to go to a restaurant. I paid my money. We were in line. We stayed in queue. And then all of a sudden it was open sesame. And I just decided that there was no way that I, a Southern polite girl, was going to be able to grab my food, and I just gave up. I mean, I don't have it in me to to do that. So I gave up on the food, went and sat, and perhaps the day before I got to perform. I performed with two different groups. I sang with, I think, Cindy Lowe's group, and I sang with Debbie Nordine's group. So we had practiced. So that was fun to get to see the back of the stage. I'm really good friends with John and Carol Gunn, and John is a fixture, or has been. I don't think he was there this year, but he does sound on the stage. So he was usually one of the guys moving the mics around. And so when I watched some of Amartithi this year, I would notice some of the really fine musicians. You'd say, oh yeah, he's the tabla guy, you know, and I kept thinking, I need to ask Cliff what his name is. I can describe him. But anyway, I got so many different experiences from being irritated by the sound of the cameras. And cameras are big in my life. My two sons are amazing photographers. But I could hear the shutters click. It was so quiet, quite up close to the stage. And the guy who was taking pictures had permission to do so. It was very clear he was taking them for posterity and they needed to be done. But I was stunned at how quiet it was where I was. I got to experience how unused to crowds I am. I think, I don't know how this is even possible, but after the 15 minutes, I was going to go back up to my room at the NPR. And I'll tell you that at the NPR, every room gets an extra bed. If it's a single room, there are 2. If it's a 4-person room, there are 5. So over probably the last month before Amartithi, they're bringing in extra beds. And it's the only time that older couples, men and women, married couples, can stay together in the NPR. That was something that was different. But it really was a day to remember. It was awesome. And that's not a word I use a whole lot, but it seemed to me, yes, there were tons of Indian music, but there were also, that year, there was Western music too, quite a bit. So it was a little bit more balanced. And it was so fun to be able to do your best for Baba, to be able to sing and be on stage. So guess those are just some snapshots of a really special memory. And I just felt like that Baba had put out the red carpet. And just like if I go to the center, or if we go to the center, if we go anywhere, Baba just gives us what we need and more than we could ever expect. Jai Baba.
Jay Baba, thank you, Gail.
Gail.
Right. I
So we
see,
do have,
uh,
so I've got, Peter, I sent you a message. I don't know if
Oh,
you got
yes.
it, but Vanessa,
okay, sorry.
Vanessa and I are here together in India, and she's had, she was here for Amartithi too. So she wanted to share her little Amartithi experience as well.
Hi, everybody. Jai Baba.
Jay Baba.
I've been to Amartithis before in the past. Probably my last one was in 2007. So coming to Amartithi 2023, there was a lot of changes, and I was not expecting them. But I would have to say that Meherabad has Amartithi down to a science. They they have really figured out the line, how to manage it, with literally, zones of people coming in at certain times and being called. They even have up at the NPR a little sign they slide in, zone 5, zone 6, whatever it is that's going to be, next up to go down to the Samadhi and get in line. So you never really see this gigantic line that used to happen. No one's burning in the sun. They've got tarps down everywhere, so there's no dust. And even the people who are coming in from Hamyapur and all these other places, they just know the whole routine so well that it's just flowing. And it looks like chaos, but it's actually such organized chaos that it's incredible. And I think that I felt the oneness in that and the unity in that. There was a lot of Westerners, of course, who live here that were, doing all the electrical lines and putting up the speakers and doing all that, but it just seemed to go seamlessly. And I'm good friends with the disaster crew, one of the Indians, and he said there was literally no medical emergencies, no problems, this Amartithi. It was just this beautiful flow. So I got in zone 1, so I got in right after midnight. So it was like just the beginning of Amartithi. And so I had gone back to sleep here in my condo and then just got up to go over there. And it was just lovely. I just got through in about, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes of line wait and had my little moment with Baba and came out. But I would say that even though we didn't have a lot of Westerners, the whole, it's 24 hours a day of entertainment. It's just like unbelievable. And everybody gets 4 minutes. And they really stuck to those 4 minutes. I couldn't believe it. They were maybe 10 minutes off. They really never went over, and everybody was on and off and on and off with this gorgeous Kiwali music or, a song. So I really felt Baba's flow, and they had moved all the food stalls down a little bit down the hill. So they were huge. They were preparing massive amounts of food, and everybody was well fed. I mean, I think they even had like a 5-star booth. I mean, they had, round tables with tablecloths and high back chairs that were all covered with cloth. And it felt like you weren't even in, Meherabad. You felt like you were in some sort of 5-star hotel. You could get pizza, endless chai. And then up towards, I would say, the garden condos, on inspiration. And I talked to my friend Rakesh, who was part of the disaster crew. He said that there was an inspiration because Baba had worked with one of the musts named Cha-Cha. And the reason he's named Cha-Cha is because he was trying to say chai, but he would go around going cha, cha, cha. And so he loved chai so much. So Baba one year said, well, let's make up in the must ashram, let's make up a little fake chai stall for Cha-Cha so he could come and get his chai. And the Baba sat down with them to have a cup of chai, and they just kept drinking cups of chai, and Baba only had, I guess, 11 cups, and then he pretended after that. But then Chacha continued to have 1,000 cups of chai. And who knows how that happened, but that happened. But anyway, so they had an inspiration off of this, Baba chai for Chacha, that they would do it because all the Hamyopur people, they saved their money for the whole year, and that they have literally nothing left for food once they arrive. So they made this beautiful endless free chai stall up where all the Hamyopur people stay. And then they have a free food stall for them too. So, I got to experience that. My Indian friends took me there and introduced me to everybody who's volunteering in those stalls. And I got to taste the food and eat off the plate on the ground, with your hand. And it was very sweet. And then I would just want to say that I feel like, Baba's love definitely is palpable, and it never really changes over the years. I would say the difference is just how the lovers are showing up, right? What energy we're bringing to it. And, definitely having it be more Indian, because there was more Indians there. It was interesting to see that the Indians are westernizing. There's kind of there's still some of the, of course, the ones that are all wrapped up, in their blankets, laying and just, crashing on the tarps if they're on the hill, and the poor and all that. But there's less poor and less of the beggars and less of, and Ahmednagar is completely, becoming like Pune. They have beautiful brand new shops that are, equal to the West. So it's really changing fast. But I would say overall, I felt like my cup was completely filled, and, definitely I had tears coming, unexpectedly. You know how it is. You're walking along, and then all of a sudden you're like, Baba's got me. It's like he's filling up. So I felt like he kept topping off my cup, my heart cup with love. Anyway, Jai Baba.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Jai Baba.
Thank you, Vanessa. All right, up next we have Ken. Good evening, Ken.
Hey there. Where am I? Oh, there I am. Hi, Margi and Vanessa. Thanks for sharing that. So what can I share about Amartithi? I was at Amartithi in 1982, 1991, 2005, and 2009. And of course, the first two times there were so many Mandali still there. So that made it special, staying up with Erich at the tin shed and things like that. But I don't have any real strong memories. It was just one of the nice things is that there's no curfew or anything. So you can just wander around Meherabad, up the hill, whatever, 24 hours a day, stay up all night if you want, or and then just in 82 and in the earlier years, of course, there was no NPR, so people were sleeping in the, what do they call them? The Quonset hut buildings there. It was a very different, roughing it for us Westerners, and mixing a lot more with the Indians. And so that was good. And just all the people and all the music. And in 2005, the NPR was almost finished, but not quite. So we actually, I believe people stayed up there just for sleeping. And maybe they had the special treats. That's another thing with Amartithi. They made a lot of special treats to eat. And of course, the food stalls and things, and the shops like Margi was mentioning down below. But it's been since 2009 now. So I guess things have changing faster and faster. But I was amazed, as Vanessa said, I watched a lot of it online, and I was amazed at how well they handled the people on and off the stage and kept it on time. It was unbelievable. And just so organized, the same drummers would stay out there, and that's groups that work together were together. And when I love Vanessa's video of the backstage though on Instagram, because I didn't see any of that, so it was great to see just a little shot and how that was working. And was that Damien back there looking like Elvis, or did I
Yeah,
hallucinate?
Damien, he did his Elvis.
You broke up. I didn't see that.
Oh, sorry. I said, yeah, that was Damien. He did his Baba Elvis bit.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's quite good. But I think he used real hair dye, because now he's still walking around India with some very strangely dyed sideburns. But Ken, it was actually really sweet, all the young people, because they just need space for people. So they put all the young people basically on the floor of the MPC.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing for us, because it's like, we get to experience what it was like for all of you guys in the old days.
Oh wait, you were in the MPC?
Well, I wasn't. I'm staying up at the Garden Condos with Vanessa, but everybody that I'm palling around with was staying. They put all the young people, all the young Westerners down in the MPC, because it's kind of rough. It's not as nice as the NPR.
Well, actually, when I was the years I was there, the older people stayed in the MPC.
Yeah, because those were the nice quarters.
So they changed.
That's no longer the case.
When we were there was no MPC.
There you go.
So before Mayor Handcrafts put in all the money for it to be built in the 70s anyway. We went every year with Francis.
Yeah, I guess it was in 2005 we stayed with some people that had a house out in the sticks. We got lucky. So it was nice to have a quiet space to go to, but on the other hand, it was a long walk to Samadhi and everything. So it was a blessing and a curse in a sense. But as I say, you could stay up all night or just stay by the stage, whatever you wanted to do. So that was that freedom was nice. But
thanks for sharing, Ken. Oh, go ahead, Shay.
Sure.
All right. Up next, we have Tony. Tony, good evening.
Good evening, Jay, Bob. Happy Amartithi to everyone. I've been to, I just calculated, I've been to 9 Amartithis, mostly in the 70s, 72, 73, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, and 82. And they were the most sublime moments of my life, really. It was nothing like this. I mean, it was still so close to Baba dropping his body that there were smaller crowds. Performances when we performed or listened to perform, it was on the stage across from the Samadhi. So you were really singing directly into Baba's heart. It was, I made notes because I'm afraid that I'll forget stuff, but I was thrilled to see friends there, to see Margi, to see Izzy, to see Ann Bliss, and especially Rabia. God, she was having such a good time. Oh, her joy was just pouring out of the screen and on Facebook, all those pictures that you all posted. One moment I saw, I don't know if you know Raphael Villafane. I think he's been to every Amartithi since like 1972 or something. And he's still there. It was just a quick shot, but there he was. And Pratap, who the last time I sang, he helped get me on and get me off the stage. Let's see. There's so many talented performers. It was really just, it was breathtaking how good they were. Our caregiver for my daughter Elena is Indian, and they came over to see the young girls who were dancing, the young Indian girls who were dancing. Her daughter has done some Indian dance, and this was just, it was so breathtaking. I stayed up. Amartithi is the anniversary of Baba coming to me. So every year when everyone's celebrating Amartithi, I'm also celebrating my 54th anniversary of Baba coming to me at that moment. So I stayed up for most of that night. I stayed up for Baba, who I couldn't stay for the whole thing because it was like 3, 4, 5 in the morning here. But I'm surprised to hear about anger and irritation. It was definitely different. At that time, and in the performances as well, it was electric, it was frenzied, it was ecstatic, especially the Indian performers. The Baba's love and presence was just like that. Although I felt so much joy from the people performing in this Amartithi this year. One story, I had gone there, it was really when my ex-wife and I were either going to stay together or break up, and we arranged to be in India at the same time. I was there for 6 weeks, and she came with my daughter for 2. And we figured either this will save the marriage or it'll be the best place for it to end. But because I had to go back and forth to pick them up, I couldn't volunteer for anything. And I missed all the volunteering, and I really felt like, you know, it was a longing to be one of those who got to volunteer for Baba for this. And one day I'm standing by the Samadhi on the Amartithi time, and one of the residents who I knew, and I'm forgetting who it was now, said, you know, I've been online for hours and I'm just about to go in the Samadhi, but I'm supposed to be on duty at hostel C or A, one of the hostels. And could you just, because I had a bicycle, said, could you just bicycle down there and tell them my situation, that I'll be there as soon as, you know, I get into the Samadhi. So I took my bicycle and I rode down the hill. I went all the way in the back where the hostels were. I passed on the message. I rode back up. I put the bicycle away. I told the fellow or girl, woman, I don't remember, and continued to enjoy Amartithi. And maybe half an hour later, I don't remember exactly, I went back to check on my bicycle. And in the back, they would put all the garlands that were put on Baba's Samadhi. They would put them in this big pile in the back. Someone had taken Baba, but really Baba, through someone, had taken a garland and garlanded my bicycle, the bicycle that had done this service. Let me see. Yeah, it gave me, last time I was there for Amartithi, in the last time period was for Amartithi Baba's birthday in 2006. I've never been away this long. I miss it really bad. And even more so watching the videos and I've had a resistance a little bit to going back because the mandali are gone and the Western presence is not the same at all. So it's a little bit different there. And the MPR, we stayed there one Amartithi and it seemed so impersonal at the time. But it wasn't open yet, but it was used for Amartithi that year. But Baba's presence is so clearly strong, very strong still there all the time, especially at Amartithi. And I think the last thing I'll say, that Erich once, and Erich staying up with Erich for his vigils through the night. But he once said, well, during Amartithi, he's talking to some of us and he said, during the year, Baba is in the mood to take, but at Amartithi time, Baba is in the mood to give. And I really felt that through the whole weekend or whatever it was. And yesterday, in my quiet time with Baba, I found myself singing and basically an Amartithi song came out of me, which is like one of the most, and I had goosebumps because it had a lot of feeling to it. And a little prayer as well. But all right, I got through my notes and my memories and my longing. So Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, Tony, would you be willing to close the night out with your song and prayer after we get through everybody?
You bet.
Cool.
Oh my God, you're reading my mind. I was actually just gonna ask to read. Can we have a song in, but wow.
I've heard it, so I was definitely wanted to hear it again.
Awesome.
I did feel Baba asking me before I mentioned it. I did feel Baba asking me, tell him about the song.
All right.
We'll save it for the best for last.
We have Terry and Diane. Hey again.
Hi. Hey, can you get Vanessa on screen for a moment?
So Vanessa just went to go get me ibuprofen for my fever, so she's not here at the moment.
I want to tell her how I spent my Amartithi. I had dinner with her mom.
Oh my God. Well, I can tell her, and then this is on YouTube, so I can show this to her too.
The LA Center. So it was
Oh my
wonderful.
God,
I
wow.
went in and said hello and let her know that I had hung with her daughter at in Myrtle Beach. So that was very exciting. I went to the LA Center and Robert Ian performed for close to 2 hours and had Mayor Baba quotes read by the various people in the group, some of them who are great actors, so it was wonderful. And it was a full Persian meal, so it was very delicious. And there were like over 50 people. It was quite something. And Terry wasn't able to go. She attended the Northern California Zoom. And so that was really wonderful. And is Tony still here? Oh, he stepped away. It seemed like everybody went, oh, there you are. So Tony had written the words Amartithi separately. And I had never seen that before. And so I think I understand the explanation, but Tony, can I ask you for the explanation? And
Well, I think in American English, it's always been Amartithi. And as Eric said, that when they were looking for a day, something to call the anniversary, what first came to mind was Punyatithi, which is used for, say, the passing of a great saint. But Baba wasn't a saint. Baba was the Christ, the Lord of the universe. So they came up with the phrase Amartithi, which means eternal day. Instead of, Punyatithi was great day. And this was eternal day, or your eternal date with your beloved. I think they're two separate words, but in India, like in Germany, sometimes they run the words together. So yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you. And the next thing I wanted to say is, before I got into Amartithi this year, I was confused about the words happy Amartithi. I felt like an oxymoron. And by the end of it, I totally understood it. And so many things helped me, but I think the thing that pushed me over to the top was Charles' talk on Amartithi. And he was saying that when Elizabeth found out that Baba had dropped his body, she went, oh, wonderful. He's no longer in pain.
Oh.
Actually, it was it was Jane, I believe.
Jane. Sorry, thank you, Ken. I realized when I was saying that I might have Western Mandalay confusion. But that's so true. And everything I read about how Baba felt like he'd be more present in people's lives once he dropped his body, and that we are not our bodies. And the song that stuck with me that Bobby Ian sang was something I think that Eric had said to him one day, which was, your life is not your own, so get used to it. Mm. And he has a song that and I was smart. I changed seats, went right up in front of him and videoed the whole thing. So I have that to play whenever I want to. So happy Amartithi, everybody.
Okay, Baba, thank you. I just wanted to say before we get Rainey on, going back to what Tony said about how Baba's in the mood to give. I can say that was like definitely my experience, that often I come to Meherabad and I'm like, all right, Baba, what are we working on this time? Like, let's just get to work here. And it felt like I kept trying to go to that place of like, all right, what do we need to work on, Baba? What do I got to give you? And it was like he was just pouring out love. Or like every time you looked in the window of the Samadhi, it was like you could see Baba just, in the last darshan, when he's just touching his heart and like, putting his hand out. And that's what it looked like. He was just that's intuitively, I felt that there was just such gratefulness on Baba's behalf. And all these people make this pilgrimage, even looking at the Westerners standing in line, some of the ones that live over here, and like, yeah, it's a privilege, absolutely, to come to Amartithi. It's a privilege to know the avatar. It's a privilege to come be invited to Meherabad by him. But also it was like, I felt Baba was saying, yes, you were invited, but you listened to the invite. And like, he was so grateful to all of us for coming and listening to that invite. But yeah. All right.
All right. Wow, that is so true. It's a privilege just to know Baba and be at any Baba location around the world. All right, Rainey, back to you.
I have a couple of naughty, funny stories, but because Peter's here and because Tony's here, it's perfectly all right to tell them because I'm not backbiting. They're here. So one of the funny parts was in 73 was we were all sort of hip. You know, I had been in the rock industry, big discotheques and running boutiques. And then we started handcrafts with the Borthwicks, and we were all hip. You know, we had shops, we had discos, we were in the music field, we're in the film field, whatever. And then we see this group of people arrive, and they're in suits, the men, and the women are in matching air hostess seeming beige suits with beige stockings and kerchiefs tied on the side of their heads, and their hair in beehives and things still. And we were sort of looking, wondering, oh my God, who are they, you know? Anyway, next thing we know, they get up on stage and we're singing sort of art song and getting to know Indian songs, and they get up in all this get up and they go, you've got to be Baba's football, you've got to let him kick you around, was their first song. And their second song was, Baba, how I love you, my dear old Baba. I want the world to know. Da-dum-dum-da, Meherezad, oh Baba. And we are there, these hippies, with our mouths open, and Francis is shaking with laughter and joy. I mean, we snapped out of it because we got in the mood. We're clapping and kicking footballs and doing everything. And it was the New York, our first exposure to the New York Society. And the contrast was actually really healing, because in a way, I suppose we had our own corny stuff too with Francis, you know, old folk songs or art songs or whatever. And the Americans started singing damn hymns, for God's sake. I mean, it was sort of like this melding of everything. It was just hilarious and wonderful. And they stayed fancy. They stayed at Vilu Villa. We were at sort of Dowlett or Akbar Press. No, Akbar Press didn't start in 73. We were at the Ashoka or whatever. But it was absolutely wonderful. The good, the bad, the ugly, the amazing, all there together. It was just absolutely healing and beautiful. And as my last thing, though, in 75, Francis came in from his room, and he'd never said much about Amartithi. Well, he never said much about anything, right? But he handed me this for my little songbook. His face was before us, that was all we needed. Then he hid himself from us, now his message goes on every wind. His beauty entranced us, that was all we needed. Then he veiled himself from us, now his word is blowing everywhere. His love clothed and fed us, that was all we needed. Then he left without warning, but his love springs up in every place.
Jai Baba. Thank you, Rainey. All right. Tony, back to you.
I was thinking of that saying about love. He jests at scars who never felt a wound. It was our great misfortune, Rainey. Some of that stuff, it was just, but it got us there. It did get us.
No, it wasn't a misfortune. It brought so much joy.
No, there was much misfortune in the suits and the rigid
right.
and all of that. It was a great misfortune. Kenmore was, but it got us there, and we still had the energy of when Kenmore was around. So that was one of the last things he said. He was before he died. They were planning the Silence Day celebration, and he said, he'd given a talk. He's quoting Baba from Life at Its Best, where it says you let be the football that Baba
Harry
kicked.
Kenmore he's talking about, right?
Yeah, but Baba said in life at its best, be the football that Baba kicks that brings you close to the goal. And Harry said, you got to be Baba's footstool. You got to be his football. You got to let him kick you around. And so someone wrote the song like a cheer song, you know. But Francis loved it. And he said to us, everyone should sing that song first thing in the morning, every day.
Yeah, he loved it. Yeah.
And then Swanee was something Harry used to sing for Baba. So we kept kind of, and it was the first English song that Baba ever sang. Mera taught Baba that. And
Well, you can see I still remember it. So it's a deep impression. What is that, 50 years ago?
Our times with the Australian group and just being together and hanging out on the hill were priceless, were absolutely priceless. And I remember Rainey from then when I was afraid to talk to her. She came and stood next to me and I was like, who's this really pretty girl who's standing next to me while I'm like, and I was like, but I gotta be disciplined here. It was wonderful. And so much music that we got to share. Anyway, thanks for the memories.
Jay Baba, thank you, Tony. Does anyone else have anything to share to close things out?
Thank you. This wasn't what I was expecting, but it's delightful.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a change in schedule. Next month, March the 9th, Alisa and Pamela will be joining us. One of them had a change in plans.
They had some last minute stuff come up.
Yes, that's life. You gotta make the best out of it and just and pivot or improvise. Tony, would you like to close this out with an Amartithi song?
Yes, I'll do the song in a very brief prayer. You'll know the melody. And I'm going to do it a cappella. I just need to make sure I'm in the right key. Okay. Oh, Amartithi, our hearts are brightly shining. It is the hour of your love's release. Through all the world, you toiled for our freedom. We were forlorn, now we're born in your grace. In human form, you toiled for our releasing. You broke the storm and took the worst away. We fall on our knees, surrender to your sweet will, love. Oh, Meher Baba, oh Meher, love's avatar, now here for one and all, now, oh Meher, Meher Baba, so full of joy, your lovers fall to laughter, but for your work you endured every pain. To true the world and open up love's tavern, where your true wine brings our lives into place. And for us all, you leave your pure example of love for all, until our dying day. Oh, love divine, oh, love Meher Baba, oh, love divine, oh, Meher, your love divine. Amartithi's the time, oh Meher, of your love divine. And this
Jay Baba, thank you, Tony. Wow, I do recognize the song. A great Christmas melody. It's awesome.
Let me finish with the prayer.
Okay.
Again, you will recognize it, but I was also feeling Mera's presence so much during this Amartithi. So this is, O Mera, full of grace, your Meher's with thee. Blessed art thou in all the world, his very breath eternally. Holy Mary, Holy Mera, who Baba loves most, pray for us lovers to grow in his love as you love him till the very end. Amen. Avatar Mer Baba Ki Jai, Mera Mer Baba Ki Jai. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. As India is a third world country and some things have not changed, Margi and Vanessa, they actually have their lost power. So I guess I remember when I was there 13 years ago, they used to have rolling blackouts. So that part has not changed. Maybe one day they'll get better power and electric, but she sends her love and she's okay, just no power right now. So I hope everybody has a wonderful night and a great week, and we will see you all next week, same time, same place. Jai Baba.
Margie, when you see her, Peter. Jai Baba.